If you want to create a memorable character, I need you to taste them. Okay, hold on. Stay with me. I promise this is going somewhere. This is just a quick little exercise to round out or give some depth to your characters, to your protagonists. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the beginning of the story. It doesn't matter if it's a short story or a novel or a series. If you're working in a series, then start at the beginning of the series, page one of the series, and go all the way to the end of the series. Whether you've gotten that far or not doesn't really matter. And I want you to describe your protagonist in crippling detail in that first page. Not for the writing, not for the novel. You're not necessarily going to put it into the book. This is just for you. This is just an exercise, warm up, whatever. But I want you to take some time and describe that protagonist in excruciating detail. I want you, stay with me. I want you to taste them. What would they taste like if you licked their cheek or their arm or something like that? Like what kind of sensations? I want you to go all the way in there. Not just what they look like, not her long, beautiful blonde hair. No. What does she actually smell like at the beginning of the story? Specifically, where does she start? Where does he start at the beginning of the story? And give me as many sensory details as you possibly can, dispassionately. No judgment. This is just for you. Okay. The clothes that they've chosen to wear or been forced to wear or whatever the situation may be. Why does this character wear a leather jacket and that character wouldn't be caught dead wearing leather, right? Whatever it is. But I want you to go in deep with all of your senses, as much sensory stuff as you can possibly squeeze into this description for page one, where they start the story. Then, very simply, repeat this exercise for them on the last page of the story or the book or the series. Now, what do they taste like? Now, what do they smell like? Now, what do they sound like? And of course, what do they look like? Does she have a scar on her face now that she didn't have before? Does he have a limp now that he didn't have before? But whatever those things were, how are they different at the end? Because they should be, generally speaking, broad brush, those things should be different because your character has been on a journey, and every successful story that I can think of has to do with the character going on a journey, right? If you take somebody who's going on a camping trip, let's say we're writing a horror story and some terrible things are going to happen on that camping trip. How does this character look, smell, taste, feel, all those things at the beginning of this journey in the car on the way to the woods? Do you smell the coffee? Do they, did they take a shower before they left? Right? What did they have for breakfast? What's the texture of their skin? Things like that. Versus the last page of a horror story like that. Now, what do they look like? Now, what do they smell like? All these kinds of things, all these sensory perceptions. I am not necessarily advocating for you to include all of these vivid descriptions in the story. You certainly can. They are there to be used, and that's fine. But the purpose, the goal of this particular exercise isn't just to create new and exciting ways to describe your character, describe what's going on. It's to more concretely establish in your mind, as creator of this universe, the journey that your character has been on. Having those kinds of sensory details in your mind that you can call upon, like, oh, I'm writing this scene today and we're midway through the book. I have to remember that at the end of this book, the end of the story, the end of this series, the target goal that I'm kind of aiming for here is somebody who is stronger or somebody who is weaker, somebody who's been through hell but come out on the other side. How can you physically indicate what they've been through emotionally? Does that make sense? Something to think about. Again, it's just an exercise. It's not necessarily something you want to put into the book, although once you have those sensory details, maybe it is something you want to put in the book. Maybe just in the process of doing this sort of exercise, you've discovered something about the character that you hadn't thought of before. Discoveries are so much fun, especially for those of us who are pantsers rather than plotters. I tend to straddle the line. That's a whole other topic. But I think having those sort of concrete details can really root you as a creator and show us as the reader the journey that they have taken. All right, something to think about. I hope that helps. Make sure you hit up fictionmentor.com. I've got lots of more fun, cool goodies for you that are going to help you write the best book that you possibly can, because that's what we're all here to do. All right, take care.